So here's the deal. I'm going to be a dad this fall, and as a paramedic for 13 years, I've delivered a lot of babies. Some of them have been in very calm situations, and others have been in very, very chaotic, out of control situations. And for that reason, I feel like I'm very prepared to coach my wife through the ups and downs of her labor, and I'm, I'm expecting to kind of help with the doctor do the delivery myself. It'll be a little different because it's my wife and my son that's coming out, but I feel like I'm very prepared. And this is because there are roughly 240, this is estimated 240 million 911 calls that happen in the US, and 80% of them happen via cell phone nowadays. And you imagine 240 calls, there's a very small percentage of active labor calls that are coming out of that, but they still happen. They happen more than you think. And I want you to kind of understand after my little story here, when you interact with someone, men or women of the paramedics or fire department, how their day is probably going and how crazy and calm it could be in a matter of a second. And so there's a very good chance that sometime in your life you're going to have to deal with someone like that. And sometimes they're not going to be on their A game, sometimes they are, but just realize that, probably an hour ago they were running something like an active labor call, and now they're holding Nana's hand, helping her through her chest pain. And that brings me to one of the craziest calls I've run as a paramedic. And this whole me being a dad thing is perfect. And this is one of the reasons why I feel like I'm prepared. Is that I ran on a call with the fire department, who I've run many calls with, and great guys, always very calm, professional. And when I got on scene, everything seemed pretty normal. We showed up into the house upstairs, and the lieutenant usually gets your information, what's your name, number on your ambulance. And as I walk around the corner, I turn the corner, and I see a husband sitting on the bed, and the wife is on her hands and knees facing like me. And there's two firefighters sitting directly kneeling down, looking at her rear end. And her pants are down, and she's obviously huffing and puffing through contractions. And I'm like, oh, well, I guess the baby's maybe coming out. And I kneel down next to the fireman, and I say, hey guys, what seems to be going on? And I haven't looked at the situation yet, because I usually try to get a report from those guys, and they're just stonewall. They're pale, one's sweaty, doesn't look like one's breathing. They're both staring at this poor woman's tush, and I'm like, what is going on? So when I look over, baby's head is out, but only the baby's head out. And I'm gonna be a little graphic here, but just imagine this is a hole, and baby's head is basically just like out like this. So all we see is face and the head, and everything else around it is just still inside. But baby isn't coming out. And when you look closely, it looks like the baby is moving his eyes, like with his eyes closed, kind of like this. And it looks very, very weird and a little freaky. So these poor guys have never seen anything like that, either have I at the time. So at that point, you're like, okay, baby needs to come out. Shoulders need to come out next. And it was just one of those weird situations that, like, when you usually do deliveries, head comes out with the shoulder, and it kind of is one fluid moment. It doesn't really stay there. The head doesn't stay there for very long by itself. And I asked the firemen, how long has it been like this? And they said, well, at least like 10 minutes since we've gotten here. And you're like, oh no, like, is this good? Is this bad? And you go back to your training. You're like, all right, baby's fine. We just have to push the baby out. And I like crawled over to the mom, and I said, hey, like, my name's Pano with the paramedics. Your baby is about to come out. We just need you this next time. Push very hard because it's time. And everything turned out to be great. Everyone was fine, but it was just one of those situations where you don't know what you're gonna get, and everything seems to be like, oh, it's gonna be calm. And when you get there, it turns out it's not a crazy situation. It's just one of those things where you're like, oh wow, this thing is looking straight at me out of this poor woman's butt, and what do we do? And so, like I said, we go and see a lot of crazy things, and I always tell that story to my friends because I always tell them, like, just imagine like a little alien coming out of someone's poor rear end, and that's what it looked like. And now I understand why those firemen were kind of staring out there like, what do we do? It's not doing anything. It's just looking at us. And so, in the end, everything turned out fine. And um, they say there's roughly like 2.5 million births that happen vaginally. And, how many of those happen in hospital? How many of those happen at home? Um, I haven't had those stats to look it up, but majority of them happen at home because a lot of times people go to the hospital, doctors send them home saying you're not ready, and boop, baby comes out, and we're the ones that get called. And so just something to consider, and always remember that if something seems weird about the paramedic, and just imagine, whoa, what kind of call did he run today or before he got to me or my family member? So that's my story, and hopefully that has helped you realize that anything can happen when you call 911. Thanks.